Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Hope you're having a really good day. Very useful and insightful. For those following the program and seeing Eduardo Kaduri's name there as a moderator, I'm not Eduardo. As Virginia said, my name is Brenda Kirchner. I'm representing EY as the topic chair for labor inclusion. Eduardo couldn't be here today, which he greatly regrets because he's a very strong advocate for gender parity at EY. Diversity and inclusion at EY, it's very core to our values, and it's a very explicit priority within the very few key priorities from a business perspective for growth in the short term. And as such, we have, as many of the colleagues here on the panel, a lot of initiatives that we invest in. But being here today as the topic chair for labor inclusion is not just a privilege, but also a meaningful way for us to be able to make a broader impact for this generation and generation to come. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce these accomplished women in the panel. To my very right is Melissa Whiting. Joined Philip Morris International in 2001 as a lawyer in Australia. Since then, she has held a variety of roles in the law department covering Australia, Asia, and Eastern Europe. In 2017, Melissa was appointed Vice President Inclusion and Diversity. Her advancement within the organization has highlighted the value of empowering women in the workplace and the corporate benefits of equality, fairness, and diversity. To her right is Maria Luisa Machiavelli. She's director of the Argentinian Chamber of Commerce and Services, one of the main business organizations in Argentina, which comprises a network of over 900 regional and sectoral chambers, associations, and federations throughout the country. She's also one of the owners of Droguería del Sud, a family company owned by the Four Sisters, which is now the most important pharmaceutical wholesaler in the country. To her right is Blair Matson. She's the global head of social impact at Uber. She joined Uber to lead the 1 Million Women program, which was Uber's pledge to economically empower 1 million women as partners on the global Uber platform. And after achieving the global goal in 2017, the work has expanded into broader social impact with continuing focus on women's economic empowerment. And Emin Worgen, since October 2017, Emmanuel has been appointed Senior Vice President, Corporate Affairs and Sustainability Integration for Danone, or Danone, here. The ambition and responsibility for her role is to support the full integration of achievements into business as key differentiation assets to create value, while continuing also to build and protect the reputation of Danone through corporate affairs. She has extensive experience in French government and administration too. Thank you all very much for being here. And I'd like to start from the end with you, Emmanuel, and ask you, with the importance that we've been hearing that has having women in decision-making positions, what are some measures that you can share you've taken in order to have more women in those roles?
So thanks a lot, and thanks for enabling me to be here and share our experience tonight. I won't elaborate on the reason why we want women in decision-making positions, because I think by now everybody is fully convinced of the power of gender equality. So I will just focus on how we do it, how we try to do it at Danone, which is a big food company with 100,000 employees all over the world. So the first thing we do is we give ourselves KPIs. And these KPIs, these commitments, these targets, they are in the bonuses of the top leaders of the company. So it's not a nice to have. It's in the short-term incentive scheme. If we reach the target, we get it. And it's a global target. So everybody shares the same target. And we have a target at director level and a target at executive level. And then we try to work on all the process. First, talent, how we recruit. Now we are considering asking to have at least one woman, or sometimes one man, by the way, into the shortlist, so we are sure that decision makers consider both genders before taking a decision. We work on mentoring. We work on helping women try to get to upper position through dedicated training internal program. We have one in Europe called Shine, and we are working multi-company in another one which is called Lead for advocacy internally. Then we created a multi-company program called EVE. This program has been very successful. 10 companies are within this program right now. It was created in 2010. It's really about women empowerment, giving confidence. We have at least 3,000 women who went through this program, not all from Danone, of course, because it's a multi-company program. It's in 50 countries within the world, and we are expanding it each year. So with this, we monitor the results. So where are we? First, our COMEX is half-half. We have one male CEO, Emmanuel Faber, and then we have 3 women and 3 men on the COMEX. So I think it's a very strong signal. Then we really improved our ratios, because at director level, now we are around 40%, and at executive, we are almost around 30%. If you know that 70% of people are men and 30% women within the global workforce, it means that at executive level, we are mirroring the global level. So I think it's encouraging, and we will go forward.
Thank you. Those are bold programs. I'd like to ask you, Melissa. I know that Philip Morris has gone through significant changes as an organization. Can you share what was the role that cultural change played within that transformation?
Sure, with pleasure. I think I would start by saying, if I ask the audience, you, to describe the culture of Philip Morris International, I'm imagining you're imagining cowboys or traditional hierarchical male-dominated tobacco company. And I would say, in reality, Philip Morris International is becoming increasingly agile, open, inclusive, gender-balanced. Like all of the companies represented and organizations here, we're operating in a fast-transforming world. And we are, as you said, transforming ourselves. So we have this big vision that many of you have heard of creating a smoke-free future, which in practice means our ambition is to stop selling cigarettes and to replace them with scientifically substantiated smoke-free alternatives. So that's pretty enormous for the world's second largest cigarette company. And we know to do that, to get the innovation, the creativity, frankly, the deep disruption, to do that and change ourselves, we need a better balance of talented women and talented men who are supported by an inclusive culture. And a little bit like Emmanuel said, we've set a very specific target of increasing our representation of women to 40% by 2022.
Thank you. So we just heard both from Philip Morris and Danone on the importance of these higher increased representation and different ways to achieve it. But why is, I guess, our next question. Maria Luisa, maybe you will help us. Why is labor inclusion a business case for companies? Why are they doing this? What do we see behind the statement, investing in women is good for business?
Good afternoon. I'm very delighted to be here representing the Chamber of Commerce and Services. We think that it's a business issue more than anything, because if you don't have women working in the companies, the economy will not be as well as it could be. And a recent study said that if there is a full scenario of ladies, women and men working together, by the 2025, the size of the GDP annual will be the size of all the economy of the United States and China all together. So it's very important to have all the women working And also it's very important to think how we are going to change this, because it's not so easy to change the model that the men have in their minds, that they think that women are many times may give problems. But I think that it's having women working in the companies makes the more attractive for the millennial at least to work there, because they feel that's an equal company, and are more. It makes that the people be more motivated and they want to stay there. And also says it's that the organizations with inclusive cultures are 70% more likely to have success in other markets than the companies that don't have the women. And also it's found that in the 500 Fortune companies, all the companies that have women in the top or in the boards of directors work better. So I think that's not only a problem of parity, but it's something that's going to make the economy much better in the future if we have all the company together. And we have to get the governments to change some laws that sometimes makes that women cannot do specifically works that I think that now with all the computers and all the digital development are much easier to do. For example, to drive a tractor in the farms, at least here in Argentina, they cannot do it, a woman. And now it's very easy. It's like driving a car.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing those figures too. I think we continue to be surprised with figures and numbers and reports and studies backing up the business case for women impact in business. And I think it's time to move to enablers. And one quick thought I have is, in addition to a couple of things that I would love Blair and Maria Luisa to share in a second, is there is a concept we're practicing at EY, which is PTR, which is like challenging the status quo by thinking, is this a P preference, a T tradition, or R a real requirement? Are we doing this just because it was the way we always did it, because I like it, or because it's really what the job demands? And I think that could be an enabler for cultural change too. Other enablers are technology, education. So let's start with technology. And Blair, how does technology enable Uber to work different and have different possibilities for women? Any trends you see or solutions and better security for drivers that technology enables?
Sure. So first of all, thank you so much for letting us be here. It's just such a wonderful opportunity. So with technology enabling women's work opportunities, with Uber, we just see this so dramatically. So I think the first thing that technology does is it really, really lowers the barriers to access to work for everyone, and that differentially impacts women. And so we see this show up just in kind of raw numbers. So historically, taxi has been the highest percentage of women that I've ever seen in a taxi company has been about 2%. But for Uber in the US, currently our active drivers are roughly 20% female. Outside of the US, it's up to 5%. In Argentina, it's actually 10%. So we are seeing kind of higher representation. I think the things that drive that are that it is so easy to get access to work. So you have a phone, you have an app, you upload documents, you pass a background check, and you're able to start working. The other piece of that is flexibility. So women, as we all know, have care requirements, have other things that they're trying to do, and so this flexibility and an ability to work when you want really particularly helps women. When we talk to our women drivers, we know that flexibility is one of their number one concerns. Personal safety and security is another one. And so that's one where we invest so much effort. It's something we care about incredibly deeply. And so we are constantly looking at how can we use technology to improve safety. What are some of the features that would improve safety? Just to give a couple examples, we have a feature that I love called Share My Trip, where on the rider side and on the driver side, you can share your trip and your location with a loved one, so that they can kind of keep an eye on you if you want them to. And another feature that we recently launched is an emergency button. So it's like if you ever feel unsafe, you can tap a button and access local emergency services. So those are some of the things that we're doing.
Thank you. But that, I know when we were talking earlier, something that also came up, that it's not just about labor safety and security, was labor security. Can you share more with everybody here too?
Yeah,
It's very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So labor security is a really interesting thing. So, and it's something that we're very, very cognizant of. So Uber, just for context, is about 8 years old as a company, and that is roughly the same age as the industry of ride sharing as a whole, and kind of the gig economy in general is very, very, very young. And so what we've found is that, or what our belief is that workers have a right to that kind of security, to have a right to medical benefits. If they're sick, they have a right to kind of feel secure, parental leave. All of those things we believe should be agnostic of whether it's full-time employment or gig employment. And so our CEO penned a letter back in January, kind of making that statement. And then in Europe, we've actually partnered with insurance companies to create a portable benefit and insurance option that works for our partners. And so it provides medical leave, it provides injury coverage, it provides sick leave, it provides parental leave. And that's something that, it's not just Uber. We know that we need to be kind of at the forefront of this, and we are leading the way, but we need to also work with our other partners kind of in this space to make sure that the social safety net kind of keeps up with how work is evolving over time.
Thank you. That's certainly a good enabler for women to access and stay safe in the workplace. And in talking about other enablers, when it comes to training, Maria Luisa, from your perspective, what can organizations do to promote learning and upskilling of the labor force? How can we ensure training programs have a gender perspective?
Chambers have the potential to promote the transformation of the relationship between a company and its workers to assure that our workforce is better skilled for the jobs of the future. The World Economic Forum found that 97 CEOs of the biggest companies find that it's very, very difficult to prepare people, so at least in the STEAM abilities, because they find that they just cover 60% of all the jobs they have, and it's very difficult to find new ones. The problem is that the women just don't study the STEAM careers because, I don't know, they don't find it attractive, I think, yet. And then that is very difficult to have these jobs covered by a woman. In the Chamber of Commerce, we work very hard in all the education to promote all the business, the people that work in our business, and to be prepared to have all the new skills that are needed. We have in the Chamber of Commerce, we have a university that's called CAESE. We have an institute of third level, and we have also permanent continuous learning. The CAESE, it's a university that's very, very innovative in all the careers that we teach there. It's the only university in Argentina where we teach nanotechnology, that we think it's one of the careers of the future. Then we have the institute where the people go there and they get all the skills they need to work in the business, in the services, and in the commerce. And we have also the lifelong department of learning that makes the permanent dictates. We dictate free of charge all over the country, different courses, and all the people can do them. These are for men and for women. There's no possibility, but also we have the possibility of, with a new technology, that we have, we give the woman the opportunity to have a further education for their career later, and to get to another level. They can do it in the moment they want because they are on the internet. They can do it with a family working there, and they have a complete perspective of everything they can do there, and they can work from their houses. So it's very important for women that that thing. And I think that the world is moving so fast now that if you have a university degree, it's not enough now to be. You have to be continuously learning different skills to be prepared to work and to return to work when you want to do it. And I think that this is where the chambers all over Argentina at least can help and play a key role, serving as a nexus between the companies, what they need, and the workers, teaching them what they have to do.
It's great to see an environment where they can have access to all of this knowledge. Thank you. Emmanuel, you share a lot of different initiatives at the beginning, and I think one that we know you could share more of, it's super relevant and all across the globe. We have a parental policy that aims to have dual responsibility of care activities for both men and women. Can you share what does it involve? Were any backlash, any resistance? What were the challenges in implementing it?
Yes, we are very proud of this policy because, as you know, we are an early life nutrition company, so we are supporting mothers during the 1,000 days journey between the conception of the child and the 3 years, and we know this period is absolutely key. And when we work on this 1,000 days, we know that it's not only supporting, actually it is really empowering mothers, to deliver the best care for their children. And it has to start within the company. And within the company, it's exactly the moment when the career can break for a woman who wants to go to responsibilities, because it's basically the moment when you have to choose between having a child and having a career. And we don't want women, or men, by the way, to choose. So this is the reason why we decided it was a key moment, and we introduced this parental policy in 2017. It's a global one covering every of our employees. The rollout is progressive until 2020. Argentina just got into the policy a few months ago. So we have 18 months of parental paid leave, but we also have paid leave for 2 weeks for the secondary caregiver. By the way, it's a gender-neutral policy. And we have support for the health of the baby, and we have career support, because the importance is also to keep the connection with the woman when she's pregnant, when she is on maternity leave, and to plan the future. And it has been difficult to have the discussion within the company because it's a cost or it's an investment, but now we see the value of it in terms of business continuity, in terms of service, in terms of talent retention, and it's even part of the social bond we issued a few months ago, recognized by investors as a real investment. So the message that we carry out externally this period is a key one, the 1,000 days. Moms can make the difference. We have to serve it internally.
Thank you. Anything quick you can add on the challenge that it means to implement it globally with all the different circumstances that different countries face?
Well, it is different country per country. Some countries are close to it, some, of course, are a lot further. The difference is also where is the workforce stopping, because sometimes we have people who are working for the company but not paid by the company, and so it leads to another topic which would be an important discussion also about women empowerment in the supply chain with the partners, and we are also working a lot on that. But we had resistance, and now I only see great messages from people and from general managers saying, of course we need to do this, why didn't do it before? Well, we do it.
Thank you. Well, now that we got more specific into very practical initiatives, I'd like to talk about pay gap, which is also very relevant. And both Melissa and Blair can share about something. Melissa, at Philip Morris, we were undertaking a global equal salary certification process. Can you tell us more and how both men and women responded to this? Also challenges and obstacles that you faced along the way?
Yeah, sure. So equal salary is a trademark of a well-established, comprehensive, detailed, independent equal pay certification methodology that's owned by a not-for-profit foundation called the Equal Salary Foundation. And an example of another prominent organization that's gone through equal salary certification is the World Economic Forum. So Philip Morris is halfway through a process of globally certifying that we pay men and women equally for equal work all around the world. And we're on track to receive global equal salary certification early next year. It's important to understand the certification comprises two steps. Okay? The first is, as you would expect, the quantitative analysis of salary data to make sure there are no inexplicable gaps between men and women. But more importantly is a qualitative on-site audit. In our case, it involves auditing 58 of our affiliates in countries around the world, and literally from here in Argentina to India to Russia to Egypt and many countries in between. So the on-site audit is conducted by PwC, who are the official auditor of the Equal Salary Foundation. And they come into each affiliate around the world looking for three things. First of all, they interview senior management to understand their commitment to equal pay and gender equality. They conduct focus groups with employees right down in the organization to understand their perception of management commitment. And then finally, they do a document review of all HR policies and practices, looking for sustainable equal pay principles, but also looking to see whether or not there are gender blind spots. I'm looking at the time. The reactions between our men and women, it was a little bit surprising to me. Men were very supportive of the project. Junior women were, I would say, grateful that the company was giving them an external validation that they were paid the same as their male peers. There's so much press about pay difference. Our senior women were skeptical, even offended. I would say they believed that the equal pay for equal work wasn't the issue. The issue, and they thought we were ignoring the issue, was the great big elephant of the lack of women in senior leadership roles. And for sure, certifying equal pay for equal work doesn't immediately address that. But as I said, the qualitative part of the review helps to identify blind spots. And what we found really valuable is the fact that we're doing the certification has forced conversations and really spotlighted attention on the broader gender issue and forced management in every affiliate to think about it. So in effect, we're using the certification as a nudge to progress the bigger issue of women in leadership roles. And you asked me about challenges as well. Okay, the challenges very quickly. The easy part was getting approval. Senior management, the board, confirm our pay practice in reality meets equality. No brainer, go do it. The challenges came when we started the on-site audits, and I think local management teams realized how much work was involved. And they realized it wasn't a narrow definition of pay, but we were looking at everything about HR. So there was a bit of resistance, I would say, to start with, but that was quickly overcome with a sense of pride, and I think the pride came from the fact that it's quite a difficult audit. So how we overcame the challenge, very quickly we established online communities where teams that had been audited, such as Philip Morris in Argentina, which has passed the audit, could share with teams that were yet to be audited what they'd learnt. And I was really proud that our people were quite open, transparent, and humble in sharing things that they can improve. So it was really a culture of continuous improvement.
Thank you. And to follow up to what Philip Morris is doing, let's talk Uber for a minute. Some research shows gender pay gap in your drivers. How do you explain it, or what actions are being taken at Uber to mitigate it?
Yeah, so it was fascinating research that was done by some external academics using our data. And so this was kind of like a first round of research on this topic. It was a very kind of one-of-a-kind research. And it was fascinating because it did find a pay gap that we honestly were not expecting among our drivers. Just kind of on an hourly basis, women tended to make about 7% less than male drivers. And it's fascinating because there's really, when you look at it, it's like there's no way that negotiation can play into it, like that discrimination can play into it. So what was actually driving it? And that was the amazing thing about the research, is they were actually able to isolate the different behaviors that were driving it. And so just to give those really, really quickly, what they were is, one was speed. So there was just this tiny little difference where men are just driving the slightest bit faster, which made it so they're able to kind of on average get more trips per hour and make a little bit more money. A second piece was the experience. So men tend to drive longer hours. They're more likely to be full-time. They tend to stay on the platform longer. And there were significant returns to that experience. It's like you just start to get to know your city, where the quick pickups are, et cetera. And so men were able to make a little bit more out of that. And then the third thing was location. Men just tended to pick more lucrative locations. So imagine like waiting outside this building when we're done here. It's like that would probably be a pretty good trip. So those were the things driving the differences. I think that what we learned from it, number one, we were surprised and honestly kind of depressed when we saw the results. But also for me, it's like I was so proud of the company for doing the gender disaggregation and looking at it, because now having that understanding, we can actually start to address. It's like, what are the ways that we can kind of reduce those gaps in experience? What are the ways that we can make sure that we're doing everything that we can on the platform to ensure that there is equal pay for equal work?
Thank you. And thank you everybody. We really ran out of time, but I think I'm very hopeful that everybody took very practical ideas of initiatives, programs, efforts that being done, and really a variety of sectors. You all represent very different sectors, and my main takeaway, following a theme here from Pilar Raola this morning, really making a call to action, and in my understanding of what the Japan focus for 2019 will be, get activated and actionable about this. I'm hoping that from here a lot could take some ideas and examples that we can, in different ways and shapes and forms, put in motion. It's been an honor to facilitate this panel. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.